beginning, we took directly from nature what we needed to survive. We didn't know how to plow, plant, or domesticate and herd animals. We didn't need to know. We were few in number, and the earth was bountiful. For some 2 million years, we were hunters and gatherers. Women bore children, nursed and raised them, so were unable to devote long hours to the hunt. And they lacked the strength required to stalk and kill big game. Instead, they gathered nuts, fruit, berries, roots, made flour, like these Kung women of Africa's Kalahari Desert. Women's work accounted for some 85% of the group's diet. Men provided meat. Today, these Mbuti pygmies of Zaire's rainforest still hunt as they did 1,000 years ago. In Canada's frozen north live other hunters and gatherers. These are Netsilik Eskimos, people of the seal. Long ago, hunters and gatherers inhabited the lush places of the earth. Today, they are relegated to marginal areas, like here, the Arctic Circle, northwest of Hudson Bay. Here, any kind of agriculture is impossible. It would be a mistake to consider these, or any people for that matter, as primitive. The lives of the Netsilik, like those of all hunters and gatherers, represent an exquisite adaptation to their environment. In winter, the Netsilik must hunt and kill seals. The only alternative is death by starvation. The ice is 7 feet thick here, except where a seal has made a breathing hole. A seal will make many such holes in a given area. It can be killed only when it appears at one of them to breathe. Since no one can predict which hole it will actually use, men must cooperate on the hunt, each finding his own hole to maximize the group's chances of making a kill. Each hole must be found by smell, by the faint scent the seal leaves behind. Everything the Netsilik uses must be made by hand. This delicately curved breathing hole searcher will tell the hunter the exact angle at which he must thrust for the kill. And this indicator is made from a hard piece of caribou antler, artfully split. A bit of down is attached to it by a sinew thread. When the seal comes up for air, its breath will gently flutter the down. Then the hunter will strike. Now begins Nikpaktuk, the long wait. Infinitely patient, he will endure here for hours.
Mamiana, you never look at you. You know.
At the beginning of time, according to their myth, a group of Netsilik set out in their only kayak to find food. But there wasn't room for all. A young girl clung to the boat, which threatened to capsize it. To save the lives of many, she was sacrificed. Her fingers were cut off, and slipping to the bottom of the sea became the first seals. She became the seal goddess. Eating the liver of the freshly killed seal has religious significance. A ritual, a way of appeasing, of paying tribute to the seal goddess. It affirms the interconnectedness between man and all animals. Because they must constantly be on the move to find food, the Netsilik live in small bands, and they own only what they can carry. The impossibility of accumulating wealth in the form of possessions leads to equality of social position, and their band level of social organization leads to the absence of formal government. And there is little specialization. Every man can do what every other man can do. Every woman can do what every other woman can do. This, too, helps make for a society of relative equals. The seal is divided by the hunter's wife into 14 pieces, each named with precision. They are divided among relatives and hunting partners. Each member of the band knows that no one will go hungry. Each knows which part he or she will receive. Egalitarianism, the concept of community, a profound respect for nature, and a sexual division of labor are a part of the legacy we have inherited from our hunting and gathering forebears. About 10,000 years ago, increasing population and a diminishment of game and of collectible food put pressure on the food supply. New modes of subsistence began to emerge, subsistence patterns that involved the actual production of food. These helped sustain larger populations. Today, most of us forage in supermarkets. Choose from over 15,000 items of food on display. Everything from hot dogs to frozen lobster bisque. But this kind of subsistence based on intensive agriculture represents only an instant on the clock of human culture. Our present-day cultures still embody social patterns developed by our hunting and gathering ancestors. In various parts of the world, the environment made certain types of food production more likely than others. In semi-arid lands with little water for crops, pastoralism provided an ingenious adaptation to the needs of food production. Its emergence was based on the discovery that instead of hunting prey, we could collect animals in herds. Instead of following them, we could lead them where they needed to go, protect them. With song, this Nuer tribesman of Africa's Sudan remembers his battles, his friends, and the beauty of his cattle. We have always had cows, ever since God gave them to us. They give us everything. They are our happiness. When we need help from God, we take an ox and sacrifice to him. You can sacrifice an ox to the god of grass or the god of sky. You can sacrifice to thank God just for giving you life. The Nuer eat the flesh of their cattle, drink their milk and their blood. They wash their hands in their urine, clean their teeth, and cover their bodies with ash from their burnt dung. And the Nuer are only one of several groups of pastoralists that survive today, along with others in the Middle East and Asia. They are nomads. Cattle provide a dependable source of food, making it possible for people to live together in larger groups. The Nuer comprise a distinct tribe. Hunters and gatherers tend to be peaceful, even gentle people. But herd animals can be killed and eaten by predators. They can be stolen by human marauders. And herders must defend their right to move freely through territories so vast they could never effectively own or hold title to. The Nuer prize fierceness. It is a trait carefully inculcated in Nuer boys. A Nuer boy is permitted to milk cattle, but not a Nuer man. That is work for women and children. A Nuer boy bears a child's name. Only when he is initiated into manhood does he receive a man's name. A boy cannot carry a spear, only a man, a warrior. become a man, a Nuer boy must undergo a severe ritual initiation in which his forehead is scarred. This is known as receiving gar. The scars remain for life, and it is said that the marks can be detected on the skulls of dead men. When a Nuer boy feels ready to be a man, he tells his father that he wants to receive gar. If his father approves, one of his sisters shaves his head. A boy must go naked into manhood. In their self-control, their courage, and their indifference to pain, the boys prove themselves worthy of becoming warriors, protectors of cattle. He is a man now. He will carry a spear. His name will be Bulyagan, white ox with a patch of crocodile. Half a world away live other pastoralists, tribesmen of Iran. Sheep and goats provide the Basari tribe with both food and money. In the spring, the valleys are dry and barren, so the Basari move their herds into the mountains where it is wet and fertile. When the valleys bloom again, they return. This pattern of cyclical migration is universal among pastoralists. It is an incredible journey from lowlands to highlands, dangerous and grueling. The Basari cover 16,000 square miles and climb 6,000 feet straight up. The wealth of the tribe, its herds, is controlled by men. This leads to a male-dominated society. Only men serve as chieftains. Family descent and inheritance is patrilineal, that is, determined through the male line. The social role of women is diminished. Independence, a willingness to take chances, and a readiness to act are prized personality traits. gathering place in Iran, the pack, making camp part of a ceaseless, timeless rhythm. The government of Iran wants to build roads through these passes, but the Bessari, like all pastoralists, resent such encroachments. They revel in the challenge presented by ice, snow, mountains, and rapids, and they cherish their independence. Migration is their way of life. And so, after their long journey, they enter the welcoming valley, as they have done for centuries. And thou hast given them this land, which thou didst swear to their fathers to give them, a land flowing with milk and honey. The pastoral way of life still resonates, its echoes sounding across the centuries, even in our religious metaphors. The flock, the good shepherd, the sacrificial lamb, the blood of the lamb. Today, the American cowboy still rides the range, though differently than his ancestors. We pushed west across our own country, and pastoralists helped tame the frontier. Our most romantic legends still evoke and celebrate that past. Shootout at the OK Corral, Sockbusters versus Cattlemen, the Lone Ranger rides again. And in our bones, many of us still yearn for the forest, the hunt. Sinclair Lewis put it well in his classic novel, Babbitt. Babbitt was thinking, if he could be free, plunge through the forest and never return to dull decency. If he could work hard with his hands, be free and noble in a flannel shirt, make camp in the Rockies, sleep under the stars, a grim and wordless caveman. Lord, how I'd like to do it. But nonsense. Folks don't run away from families and partners. You simply don't do it, that's all. Like Babbitt, those of us who live in towns and cities still feel in our bones the call of the wild, experience the poignant sense of loss that comes from being out of direct contact, out of harmony with nature. We are bound to our ancestors, the hunters, gatherers, and pastoralists by long strands of culture. Their ingenuity and creativity still enrich our lives.